It's time for Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group with certified financial planners Kevin Korhorn, Mike Bernard, and Josh Gregory.
Welcome to another episode of the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group, where every week we're helping you take your next wise step in your financial life. Thanks for being here, friends. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm your host. I'm also one of the CFPs on the program. And with me in the KFG studios, my business partners and fellow CFPs, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory.
The Wall Street Journal published an article recently grading the U.S. in retirement, and the score was not great. We're going to help unpack the country's report card, but what about yours? How are you going to grade your retirement? We'll help you evaluate your own retirement readiness on this episode of The Wise Money Show.
That's right. Diving into some geeky stuff, but really all towards how can you have a path towards a confident and successful retirement. That's what we're helping with right now. If you have a question for the program, we'd love to hear from you. You can call or text us, 574-222-2000. That's 574-222-2000. Online, wisemoneyshow.com, and then all over social media, wherever you're at. We are there as well. Search The Wise Money Show. Okay, so I think I might know the answer to this. What kind of student, Kevin, what kind of student were you? Were you, I've got to get an A? Or were you, no, C passes. I'm good.
Well, I was that student that said, you've got to get an A, and somehow never did. No, you know what, Mike, I always felt like my schooling was getting in the way of my education. And when I got out of the Army and I went to Central Michigan University, my first semester, I was on the dean's list and the president's list, and I'd gotten all A's except I got one A minus, and I was up in Grayling at the National Guard my 2 weeks in the summer, and that's when they used to mail report cards to your house.
Yeah.
And my mom got it, and so she opened it, and she couldn't believe it. And she, when I called her, because we used payphones back then, she's like, "I can't believe it. I'm so proud of you, honey." And so that worked. And if there's any like pro tips here, start your first semester with all A's, because the deleterious effects of the bad grades as you go. But Josh, you're saying it's such a bad grade, and I'm saying there are lots of folks out there like, I would love to get a C+.
Yeah. Josh, I know you were studious, and or was it 4.0? I mean, now it's like 4.7. You got to get a 4.7, otherwise you're
No, it took me. Are you talking college?
Well, yeah, sure.
High school, I didn't like high school.
Okay.
But when I got to college, the fact that you could study what you wanted to study, pick your own classes and stuff, man, that was motivating to me.
Yeah.
But it took me until my senior year to get straight A's. But
well, regardless of whatever type of student you were, or how you did in school, whether you thought it was fair or not, or whatever, when it comes to retirement, you want to get an A. Right, you want to get an A. And many people have actually unretired. There was a big wave during COVID, and for many circumstances, the statistics show lots of people have returned to the workforce. And good riddance, we need you. There's a lot of help that's needed. However, for the most part, you want to retire once. Right? If you choose to go back to work, that's one thing. But you want to retire once. You want to do it successfully. You want to do it with confidence, and therefore, you need to be looking at all 6 areas of your financial life, doing comprehensive financial planning, and that can help get you that A. We're going to talk about you and how to do that here in just a minute, but kicking this off is Wall Street Journal published an article a couple of weeks ago that had a sort of gloomy headline, right, depending on your perspective, and that is the U.S. retirement is graded a C+. And if you say, no, actually, that's not that bad, it's all relative. Of the 47 countries that were graded on their retirement systems, U.S. ranked 22nd. So, guys, let's dive into that report. I guess, how did they come up with that? What are your thoughts with that before we bend it and apply it to you individually?
Well, I mean, you got to accept that it's a passing score, right? I mean, a C+ gets you by. You get to keep on rolling. But no, I obviously the devil's in the details, and it will be interesting to hear a little bit more explanation for, well, how did they evaluate? Was this thing graded on a curve, or who are we stacked up against? All of that. But anyone who's evaluating the retirement readiness of America, or the programs available to help people for retirement. It's a philosophical question, right?
Yeah.
You know, should the government be supporting your full retirement? Should it be more on your own individual shoulders? You know, depending on how you answer questions like that, you might grade one country an A+ and another one a C, and I might flip them completely opposite. Who knows?
Yeah, that's why it matters more to you.
That's right.
But the study is done by Mercer in conjunction with the CFA Institute, and so they scored 3 criterion here. Adequacy was the highest weighting. And what do you mean? What's that mean? So the system design, the benefits of saving, government support, and then overall asset growth of the citizens. 35% then is on the second category, which is sustainability. So pension coverage, total assets, government debt load, economic growth. And then the final 25% they're calling integrity. In this context, what in the world does that mean? And that's governance and regulation and so on. Ultimately, what this is grading is really what is the social retirement system. First and foremost, what's the government retirement system and how strong is it within a country? And then the additional retirement systems, whether that's 401k heavy or pension heavy, what's the makeup of that amongst the citizens? So yeah, I think we could all understand Social Security is on 9 years away from insolvency. We've got to fix it. The assumptions in there were don't apply to these demographics, so we need to make a change. Government debt, U.S. debt has been a headline and a concern for a long time, only getting worse. And most companies have gotten rid of pensions, and 401ks are now the primary source of retirement funding. And so I think compared to other countries that have more social support, yeah, we'd probably stack up not as well in that measure.
Sure.
In this regard.
Yeah, but the important thing to remember is these when you look at what the government does or the pensions. I mean, some of these countries are much smaller. The Netherlands is at the top, and Denmark and Finland and these countries. These are very small countries, and they're willing to pay 50% in taxes.
Yeah, increased taxes.
Yeah. There's a market trade-off because, again, as we've said many times on this show, the government doesn't have any money. It only has the money that it takes from you and me, and then distributes it in the way that you would say we see fit. And then, as a constitutional republic, we elect leaders to go and represent us. And then I always stop after that and think, do my leaders represent us? Because Mike, you're talking about, well, yeah, Social Security's got to get fixed, and we've got 9 years. And I mean, my whole working life, I've looked, and I do think it's it's kind of either ironic or some strange version of funny that by the time I get there, my full retirement age, it's going to be insolvent. So I have an opportunity to pay into the system my whole career, and when I get there, likely they're going to have to do some things. And to me, and this might be a little bit of a tangent, it would, years ago it would have been much easier to make a small tweak, and the closer we come to insolvency, the bigger the tweak it's going to have to be.
Right. Yeah.
So the question,
run out of time.
Yeah. So the question is, and we talk about that, our circle of influence and circle of concern. Like, what can I do about that? I can vote. I have some sway over my income, which would then affect those benefits. I can choose where I work, where I might have a pension. So, instead of a defined benefit, you work here for so long and have such a salary, you're going to get such a payout. But those are not,
mostly those are government jobs now, right?
Yes.
And so, and it comes with other trade-offs.
Yes.
So.
Every once in a while, there's a wave of client interest or awareness of Social Security and the whole insolvency, maybe it's an article gets published or something that kind of raises the concern again. But it's been a while since I've had people asking about this or showing any kind of concern. And I don't know, when we're coming up on election years and things like that, that is where you get to inject your opinion or your focus. And it doesn't seem to be on very many people's radar right now.
I think as that national debt continues to grow, it will be. And as we get closer on the Wise Money Show, the YouTube channel, we talk about it a lot and lots of details and analysis is there. So make sure you go check that out. All right. So how would you grade your own retirement and how can you improve that grade? We've got that and more coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for being here. This is the Wise Money Show. What you're watching right now is our weekly 1-hour talk show that airs right here on this channel, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, every Saturday morning. Also on podcasts at the same time, but also on a couple local radio stations, which is why the content is the length that it is and structured the way that it is. For more content, though, just like I referenced, that's directly built for YouTube, 8 to 10 to 12 minutes long, taking one financial concept, applying it directly to your financial life. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because that's here. Over 1,000 videos, 5 new videos every single week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Lots talked about, okay, what are the leading solutions that they're talking about to fix Social Security? I've done produced a lot of content on that as well. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and if you like the content, leave questions as well. Thank you. Yeah, they're going to increase FICA tax. 1%. 1% for the employee, 1% for the employer. The question is, will they increase that? Will just by 1 or will it be 2? And then will they also push the full retirement age back to 70? If they push the full retirement age back to 70, they'll have to push the delayed retirement age to 72 or 73. So we'll see. But you look at the numbers.
That's the one that, to me, that's always made the most sense because the system was designed when you would draw Social Security at 62 if you made it that far and you're dead by 65. So you're on the program for 3 years. It's not that big of a drain. It's not that way though at all. Mm-hmm. So, but it does seem to me to make sense to say, hey. And when you look at keeping people in the workforce longer, I mean, I don't know.
That, to me, is the major ramifications or the consequence of pushing back the full retirement age. It just incentivizes people to keep on working a little bit longer. But does it do much as far as, I don't know, changing people's benefits, really? Because right now, you would argue that age 70 is the full retirement age in a way. Like that's the full benefit. Anything earlier than that is a reduction. Yeah. Right? So if you push literally the true full retirement age out to 70, it's still a reduction off of that number. It just means there are consequences if I keep on working and draw at the same time. And I don't know.
And one of the, so Ben Chambers is working on his master's in financial services. Yep. And in his group, they were talking about adjusting the financial plans and, taking Social Security down to 70% of what's planned by, 2036 or something like that.
Why do they pick 70 instead of 79 or 79 is what they forecast the actual coverage
the
would
most
be, right?
recent update is a 23% reduction.
Okay. Yeah.
And
so
like it increased the amount of reduction.
So this might be, I mean, somehow in the spirit of injecting some sort of hope, we have to we have to say, well, at least know where you stand, right, so you can be objective, and then have great data so you can make great decisions, because this would be something, I was just talking with a good friend, and his good friend went to the doctor, and the doctor said, hey, look, you stop drinking now, you'll live for 5 to 10 more years. And he kept drinking and was dead within a year. So you think, well, that behavior, you think, oh, that's very strange behavior. If I was in those shoes, I would have stopped, I would have changed, I would have done all this other stuff. I mean, hopefully that's what you would have done. That's not typically behaviorally what most people do.
Yeah, habits are real, right?
Oh, brother. So this is where you would want to think about, okay, can I do, am I curious? Am I wondering about the truth? Is there a place that I can go and get the truth with my certified financial planner? And then I'm probably going to need an external stimulus, because again, when you go to the doctor and he's got like, hey, you got type 2 diabetes, and a lot of people are like, hey, cool, give me the medicine and I'll keep living like I've been living, which got me here in the first place. And you're like, no. You have to make some, maybe make some meaningful changes. And without external stimulus, that seems almost impossible.
Okay.
So sorry for the rant.
Pivot to how do you grade yourself, right? I don't think there's any more we need to talk about the article and the...
Do we talk about the online tools to grade yourself?
Those are Mike's favorite.
Again...
No, I mean, there are some really cool tools online. The thing is, it's not to me. Well, this
I was going to say don't share it now if it's something you want to share on the show. So.
I wish there were goodies that we were saving, but it's just we'll just save it.
All right, here we go. If you were to grade your readiness for retirement, what score would you give it? What grade would you give it? And what could you do right now to improve your score? We're helping with that and more right now. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Thanks for being here. My name is Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory. Stay up to date on all Wise Money content. Find us online, wisemoneyshow.com, and all over social media. Just search the Wise Money Show. All right, so we're talking about the U.S. getting scored internationally, sort of comparing ourselves to other country, being scored a C+ in retirement. But essentially, that's a knock on, well, how sustainable is Social Security? And the other thing built into this report from Mercer that we haven't mentioned is they actually want a mandatory private pension as well. That's where you get good marks. And I think, you look at U.S. companies in general and say, well, that's why investing in the U.S. has been so profitable and so beneficial, is many companies have shifted to defined contribution plans, 401ks, those sorts of things, and not pensions. But anyway, you can be concerned about that. Oh gosh, Social Security system needs to be improved. But what do you have influence over? What do you have control? Well, that's your own financial life, right? And so how would you grade your own readiness for retirement? And what would those components be? What would you look at? And then how can you improve your score? So, guys, what do you think?
And Mike, can I just start this segment with a little optimism? Because as I was looking in the Google, I came across an article from January 7th of 2016. And the headline is, this is in Forbes, it says, Americans get a grade C in retirement readiness.
Yeah.
So that was in 2016, and here we are, 7 years later.
We're
at a C+. I mean, that's enough to call Dad and say, hey, Dad, keep sending the money because my grades are going up. Oh, my word.
Oh, man.
So anyway, so how would you grade yourself? There are actually formal ways to grade yourself. You can go online and look and say, all right, I want a score. There's a retirement income security evaluation, or a RISE score, and you just need some data. And it's not tremendously different than as we walk through the 5 factors with folks. But your monthly income, savings, pension, Social Security, any other retirement income, and estimated monthly expenses, and estimate medical expenses.
Say the acronym again. Retirement income security
evaluation.
Evaluation. Okay.
Score.
Interesting.
So it's a RISE score. I don't think SCORE stands for anything other than score. So, anyways, but so you have your RISE score, and so you look at these, and you can get a number. So the problem with this and again, we are very biased, so we're not hiding that at all. The problem is, if I go and get a score, what do I do about it? Because really, it's kind of like with my health. Like if I'm getting a bad grade on my health, what do I do about it? I know what to do about it. I'm not doing it because I'm unwilling or unable to. So if you get depending on what your score is as it relates to retirement readiness, what do you do with that score? And this is where, as financial coaches, if you will, because we say if you're going to have a planner, make sure that planner is certified. And that certified financial planner knows what the 6 areas of CFP are, and they can actually evaluate your financial life and give you a retirement readiness score. So what's your probability of success? But then what are the actions that you need to take? And then based on the actions that you need to take, to walk down that road with you and do some hand-holding to say, okay, this might represent a dramatic change in what you're doing right now. You may want to change. It's pretty simple. What do I have to do? I have to save more. I have to reduce my debt, basically clean up my balance sheet. I have to work longer. I mean, there are these various levers that I can move and change my score.
You have simple, but in the break you were talking about type 2 diabetes. Well, choosing to eat one less cookie around the holidays is simple as well. And yet, oh my goodness, is it difficult, right? And so behavior management, especially when we're seeking comfort or when we're seeking enjoyment, golly, that is hard to do. So simple, yes, but without a coach. And without, you also referenced some external stimulus, and that is a coach that can help guide you and show you the benefit of
those sacrifices or those changes
those
and everything.
Yeah,
I agree. But it all begins with that coach first understanding, how do you define the win? What is your goal ultimately? Because here's the thing. We could stack 2 retirement readinesses up next to each other, and one might call it an A+, and the other one would call it a failing grade. And it may be because they're just evaluating on a different scale ultimately. When you look at your own retirement and the forecast for what your lifestyle is going to be out there in retirement, do you compare it to what your lifestyle is today? What percentage of my spending or my activities and everything will I be able to continue when the paycheck stops? Is that how you evaluate a great retirement? Or do you compare it to your neighbors or to your parents or some other benchmark? How much do I get to enjoy the retirement, the golden years compared to those around me? Is that how you evaluate retirement? So I have some clients who they would judge their retirement on how much money am I going to be able to give away to the charities that I care about. Like that is their primary aim ultimately. And others, we've all known clients where it's like, no, they're trying to maximize what they can leave behind to the next generation. That's how they would define an A+ retirement. But the point is, you have to have a coach that's in your corner who's helping you to prepare for the standard that you've set for yourself. And if you get off track, how do they help you pivot? How do they help you, navigate the trade-offs, the things that you could do differently to get back on track, to go from a B to a B+ to an A- and so on.
All right, so let me summarize here then. So in order to know your score or improve your score for retirement, consider doing a RISE score. Kevin, I actually haven't looked at that before. So great suggestion there. But then also, once you get that, make sure you're working with a CFP, Certified Financial Planner, looking at all 6 areas of your financial life to manage what adjustments you'd need to do and to have someone walk you through. Because if your RISE score is great and then you change your behaviors, that's going to influence things. If it's not great and you figure out, well, I need to save more. Yeah, but if you save more and it gets you into, it throws the rest of your financial life off kilter, then that's no bueno. But then Josh was saying, along with that, you also need to know, what are your goals? What are your objectives? Because I think traditional retirement is thought of as, well, I'll be able to leave work and continue to do what I want to do without financial worry, right? But that might not sum it up for you. That might be part. That might be part of it. But if it's also maximize how much you can give to the church or the causes you care about, maximize what you can give to your kids, maximize experience for your kids, So maximize, experience, maximize impact, something like that. Knowing your goals also is critical.
Yeah. I mean, it might be just minimizing taxes. Like I've piled up all this money that's never had any taxes paid on it. How do I get out of here without, absolutely giving the lion's share of this money to the federal government?
So that was one of the things that I thought of as well. If I were to sort of benchmark, and I guess, because I'm such a geek, I was looking at the report and it's like they've got these 3 categories in which they would grade this. I would definitely have one of the categories for you is your tax management. That is definitely how much of your hard-earned resources are seeping out or slipping through your fingers going to Uncle Sam when they really should be staying in your pocket. That's one. The decisions you make with our social systems, whether it gets a C+ or a C- or a B-, I don't care. How are you optimizing Social Security? What's your plan with health insurance and Medicare and all that? And then finally, it's that 5-factor retirement plan. And we'll have to pick that back up. But that competence score, and first the reality score. Are your inputs into that reflecting reality? Is it accurate? And then beyond that, are you getting a good probability of success in competence ratio and so on?
Because if you don't understand the inputs, you could have wildly inaccurate results.
Right.
Well, I'll share an example here when we get back. So to me, those would be the few different pillars. I want to get into those 5 factors of retirement plan, of your retirement, my retirement, everyone's retirement, those 5 factors that really should lead to how confident are you in what's your retirement grade. So we've got that and more coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Yeah, we walked right into just a pretty incredible example that I had last week. I'll share it on the show. So, all right, third segment. Let's get into this. I've got a question teed up. My guess is we're not going to get to questions in this segment, but there's a good question from Wayne here. 149,000 in CDs, and I owe 100 left on my house. Should I use the CDs to pay?
Cool.
Pretty sure that's Wayne Gretzky. Anytime I see the word Wayne, I'm like, Gretz. So, all right, here we go. And for you hockey fans out there, I love Alex Ovechkin. I'm really, really, really not rooting for him. The number of records that Wayne Gretzky, even though I really disliked Wayne during his career, but you just have to appreciate what he has done, and I want him to have that all-time scoring record, goal record. So, sorry, Ovi, but bad luck to you. All right, here we go. What are the 5 factors to your retirement? And when you make clear and clear decisions and have clarity on those, what's the confidence rate? So what's your retirement score? We're helping with that right now. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Thanks for being here. My name is Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory. Every episode of the Wise Money Show is on podcast. Wherever you listen, just search the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Subscribe to it there, follow us there, and rate the program there. We appreciate that. I think it's a star rating as opposed to grades like we're talking about today. But that is helpful feedback for us and helps others who are looking for content on wise financial habits. Helps those folks find us. So, all right, we're into how would you score your own retirement? The U.S. retirement system as a whole scored a C+, ranked 22nd out of 47 countries. And even though that's within all of our area of concern, we don't have much influence over it. What you have influence over is your own behavior, your own savings, your own spending levels, your own, decisions, right? Mm-hmm. And so, Josh, we've talked about this 5-factor framework for a long time. And you often refer to these as 5 decisions that you make, although at times they don't feel like it. It just feels like, well, this is my circumstance. Yeah. This is my situation. At the grassroots, these are decisions. So why don't you hit these 5 factors? Because to me, if I were to look at what should you bake into your own retirement scoring system, as I mentioned, it would be well, your tax efficiency and tax management. And then your decisions with the socialized retirement systems we have, optimizing Social Security, Medicare, that sort of stuff. But then also the rest of your 5 factors, your 5-factor retirement plan, and really what is your confidence score? So let's get into that.
Yeah, those 5 factors or those 5 decisions are what make this personal for you. You could take a government, you could live in any of the 47 countries that were part of this study. Some of them are set up for amazing success, apparently, by the study standards, and others lag behind. But it almost doesn't matter if you set yourself up for success because of great decisions on this. In the areas that you get to have influence, or you get to pull the levers to raise or lower your own score, your own readiness, are things like, at what age are you going to retire? It's one of the first decisions that you have to make. And it is one where you might feel like, well, I'm kind of backed into a corner. I'm 62. I just lost my job because of my industry, or my employer closed, and I didn't have a choice. But the reality is you do have a choice on whether or not you pivot and go, find the next job to finish out your working career, or do you just march into retirement? But you have to define, and I encourage a lot of clients to have the goal, have the age that would be the target. What's the A+ age for you? I want to be done by 65, and it would be really cool if I could be done by 63, but not at the expense of some of the other factors or whatnot. But my fallback age might be 67. Like I really want to be done by 67.
I better
right?
be able to retire by 67, that sort of thing.
And recognize that there's a range of right answers there. And at some level, there are many clients that make a game time decision. They get out there to 65 and they take a look around, they check their readiness and everything, and they either go or don't go. They delay a little bit longer. But the second would be then, and these aren't necessarily in any real particular order, but the income levels that you're going to have in retirement are also going to have an influence on your readiness score, right? You talked about Social Security and your decisions about that. That is a choice that you get to make. Am I going to start drawing Social Security immediately when I walk away from my employer, from my paycheck? Or am I going to delay it a while longer? The right answer for you may be different than your neighbor or your family members, your parents that went before you. It really is your individual situation that can drive the right answer. And that's why we always talk about optimizing for you personally.
Yeah. And then do you have any other income sources in retirement? Do you happen to have a pension, maybe from an old employer? Do you plan on working part-time? Most people, when they plan to work part-time, they think of that as bonus, and we like that thought, but is it just you want it built into your plan? Do you have rental income or other income sources? So that's the second income. Third one would be your spending.
And again, this is one where some people don't recognize just how much influence they have. Often our spending is just sort of locked in to our certain lifestyle. Do you have a mortgage in retirement? What kind of cars do you drive? That kind of thing. But here's the thing. You could create a retirement outlook that if you can spend $60,000 a year, you're golden. Like the numbers work. You have a high probability of success. You're not going to run out of money. But is $60,000 the lifestyle that you're shooting for? Is $60,000 for you a C- because you're used to living off of $100,000?
Yeah.
So defining what are the needs that you have in retirement, what kind of a lifestyle are you going to be shooting for? And again, stress testing your readiness to confirm, well, am I going to be able to pull off the lifestyle that I really want? The other decision that you get to make, as long as you're not already retired, is how much money am I piling into my long-term investment accounts where I can get growth in a nest egg that will help support me when the paycheck goes away. How much you save determines, again, your readiness level. And then what do you do with those savings? Are they sitting in CDs in the bank, or are you investing in mutual funds that are giving you a good growth rate? Depending on your answers there, you're going to be piling up a larger nest egg and life savings that can support you more. There's probably a number for you. What's the A+ number, the amount of money that you need to have accumulated for your retirement?
One of the so those are the 5 factors to your retirement, to everyone's retirement. But the interesting thing about those different factors is they're interrelated. Mm-hmm. They're interdependent on each other. So you couldn't, and I'm going to use extremes here, you couldn't say, well, I want to retire at 40 and I want to have, no income, but I want to be able to spend a ton. And I really don't want to save up. And what I do have saved up, I don't want to take any risk. Right? That's absurd. Logically, you would say there's no way that can happen. And yet, as you kind of work from along that spectrum from absurd closer to reality, they're interrelated. If you say, well, I need to retire at 62, well, that could mean you've got to save up more. You might need to spend less or pay off debt or whatever. Who knows? You might need to work a little bit in retirement, get some other income to supplement Social Security. It's got trade-offs to each other. But ultimately, working with your CFP, defining reality. If you put the wrong inputs there or put inputs for those 5 factors that you think, oh, this would be good, but it's not reality, the score is not going to be helpful at all. But putting those 5 factors, working with the CFP, putting those into a sophisticated financial planning software or working with the CFP to go through their process should lead you to a trial of various market environments and so on. We use 1,000 different trials. And what percentage of those did you make it to or through your life expectancy without running out of money? Ideally, and I guess we would say a passing score or really an A score is you'd want 85% or more of those trials to come back where you didn't run out of money. Mm-hmm. So you're shooting for an 85% or more confidence rate.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And recognize it's not 100%, right? This is, we're trying to set all of our clients up with a probability or a likelihood that they're going to be able to live out their days and enjoy the retirement they've envisioned for themselves without running out of money. Mm-hmm. But there are no guarantees. It reminds me, what was the book? Thinking in Bets. Annie
Duke.
Duke, there you go. Mm-hmm. She talks about just recognizing that the probabilities can be in your favor, and it's a wise move to go ahead and retire the way that you've planned because, throughout history, the likelihood of this playing out well for you is great. But it's never 100%. You don't know what your health is going to be. You don't know how your family dynamics are going to play out. You don't know what's going to happen economically or socially or politically in the future. All you can do is set yourself up for the best possible outcomes or the most flexibility so that you can pivot as life throws different things at you. To me, that's an A-plus retirement, where you have options, where you have security in choices that are extending past the paycheck out in the future.
So there you go. How do you score in retirement? And especially right now, as we turn the page on another year. I don't know if you're planning to retire in 2024 or if it's coming up or if it's still a few years or decades out. How would you score right now? Are you on track? Are you getting an A? Are you doing what it takes to get an A? Most people don't know. And if you again, going back to Annie Duke, if you were to say, okay, I've got a bet on this, would you know for sure? Would you have that confidence? Work with your CFP, do that comprehensive financial planning, build out that 5 factors so you know. All right, more coming up here on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Okay. Let's pivot into listener questions. You want to hit the equal weighted versus market weight? Obviously, we can't speak directly to here's specifically how it's performed, but I think we can say that, for the majority of this year, market weight has just clobbered equal weight by some of the largest.
The funny thing is, it barely makes sense to me, and I've studied this stuff my whole career.
Yeah,
and so equal weight makes sense. That makes total sense. Market cap weighted does not.
It uses a lot of jargon that you'd have to define first, and
you'd have to be able to understand. Yeah. Like mentally, you'd have to get it.
Yeah. Huh. Do you know the percentages right now?
No.
Of the top 10 or?
Well, and it'll change by the time it airs.
Right.
The
Apple is at 7, just over 7%. Microsoft 6.5%. Amazon's 3.25%. So look at that. Number 3 on the list is less than half the size of number 1. Is that crazy? Mm-hmm. When you talk about top weighting. Interesting.
So, yeah.
It's almost like, have you seen the charts that compare the first round draft picks to the second, third, and so on? Like the nosedive of compensation if you're a top tier pick in the NFL lottery system or the draft system is very interesting. But it sure seems to be the same in the S&P 500.
I've got to, yeah. All right, let's talk about it. Assuming that the first question doesn't take too much time, and I don't think it will. So, all right, here we go. 4-segment, land on the plane. Let's do it. Thanks for being here. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. My name is Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory. Every episode, as well as a lot of other content, is on the YouTube channel, the Wise Money YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, search the Wise Money Show, subscribe to it, follow us there. Not only is every talk show there, but as well as a lot of other content that airs all throughout the work week. We talked a little bit about Social Security earlier in the program and the potential changes and the solvency and all of that. My goodness, probably a half dozen videos on that alone, as well as the most recent suggestions on how they will plan to fix Social Security and how that could impact you. So make sure you go to YouTube, search the Wise Money Show, subscribe to it there, and leave comments there as well. We appreciate it. Getting into questions from fans of the show, many of them left on the YouTube channel. First one we're going to hit is from Wayne. I think a lot of people are in a similar situation. Here's what he asked. I have $149,000 in CDs ranging from earning 3 to 5%. I also owe $98,000 left on my house. Should I pay off the house? My CDs have done better over the past couple of years than even my 401k. I'm retired. My only debt is my house and just normal kind of utility bills. So is this just a normal math problem, or what do you think?
Well, there's a couple of things that you would consider here. With his CDs, just take the amount that he has in CDs and what he earns. He's going to pay taxes on that. Mm-hmm. So, but we're at a point where, and this seldom happens in history, where if you've got the money sitting in the bank, it can earn enough to cover the cost of the borrowing. Now, that's
especially if he borrowed, 2 years ago or 3 years ago,
sure.
And he's maybe locked in below 3%.
If he's got a 3%, now it covers the cost of the interest. It doesn't. If you're paying principal and interest, it might not cover that, but it might not be a stretch to get that done.
Right.
Mm-hmm. To use the earnings off of that money, and then therefore you're going to pay.
But the beautiful thing about that mortgage payment during these high inflation years that we've been experiencing, it's probably the only expense in Wayne's entire life that haven't been escalating over the past 2 or 3 years, right? The mortgage payment is flat. Everything else is getting more expensive. And so the mortgage itself, that monthly payment, feels like a smaller and smaller portion of the monthly budget, right?
I don't want to be obtuse. However,
but
there is, but
I don't want to be obtuse followed by obtuseness.
It's your spiritual gift.
So because yes, you've got to look at the math and on the surface, and I'm not arguing against it, but you would say yes, if your mortgage is at 3% and you're earning 4% on average, then you probably shouldn't pay it off. But what if the mortgage payment is causing Wayne, who's in retirement, so likely on Social Security, to supplement that Social Security with money coming out of an IRA? Because I've got these CDs, and yeah, they're paying interest, but I'm probably not drawing any of that interest or drawing any money out of the principal of CDs. You can't really do that.
Tied up for the year or two, right?
So what if I'm drawing more out of my IRA than I otherwise would have to make my mortgage payment, and that withdrawal out of my IRA is causing my Social Security to be taxed when it otherwise wouldn't be? Well, now you're adding more to the equation than just looking at interest earned versus interest paid. And is that possible? I think it's possible here, given it sounds like he's got modest lifestyle, modest income, modest overall financial situation. And is it probable? Yeah, maybe not. But I'd at least look. That's the Guys, that's the comprehensive financial planning approach. Is how are the seemingly disconnected parts of your financial life actually connected? You might look at this and say, oh, this is purely just a rate of return decision. Now, present financial position. It's also tax planning, right?
My mind went to retirement planning. Before you would go take liquid assets that you might need to live off of, as these CDs mature, you might need to be shifting them over into a money market that you can draw off of each and every month to help supplement your Social Security, your other lifestyle and everything. But the question in my mind is, well, Wayne, do you know how long your retirement nest egg is going to last you? Mm-hmm. If the forecast shows that you're going to run out of money in 7 years, and we hope that based on life expectancy and things, maybe you've got 12 years or more to enjoy in retirement, well, then you're going to need any money that you now pile into the house. Essentially, you shift it from CD money into equity in your house. You now own the house outright by paying the debt off. What happens in 7 years when the money runs out? Are you going to sell the house? Are you going to borrow the money back out? So to me, if you can pay off the mortgage and you can put the money into the house and never need it again, that's great. Yeah. But if you're going to be spending down these dollars, most likely, and maybe you have a mortgage that you'll never pay off in retirement, and that might just feel awful to some people, but it doesn't have to be, right? It just means that whatever equity is left in the house when you pass away, that's what goes to your heirs or your beneficiaries, the charities, whatever you're trying to support. So to me, this, even though you're in retirement, you might think to yourself, oh, my retirement planning's done. What do I need to talk to a certified financial planner for? No, you're still making decisions. That's why you have a coach in your life to evaluate the decisions before you pull the trigger on this one.
And my mind went to protection planning because there are various thresholds when you look. Because Wayne, we don't know how old you are. You could be before Medicare. Yeah. You could be after Medicare. Mm-hmm. And so there are various thresholds both before and after that will affect what kind of social benefits you would qualify for based on your income. Well, if you took, if you paid off the mortgage, you have $5,000 less income. Would that be a difference maker? I don't know. Let's say probably not, but it could be.
Yeah, you never know.
And this is why you would want to know the answer to that because if you can not make decisions in a vacuum and not make decisions saying, oh, well, my CDs have been done better than my investments over the last 2 years. Yeah, that's everyone's.
No surprise there.
That's
right?
Everyone's situation at the moment.
Happens in the short term.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, let's pivot to another question here. Not going to get into the more technical one, guys, that we talked about, but jumping down here to a question from Joe. So I just watched one of your YouTube videos about how you can take an inherited Roth IRA from someone that's not your spouse and use it to fund your own Roth IRA so that you maintain that tax-free nature. The question is, could you use the same strategy for a non-spouse traditional IRA? So here's the idea, and probably worthwhile for a full talk show, but I've done a few shows or videos on this on the Wise Money YouTube channel. So essentially, most people today, when they're passing away at old age, they've got IRAs or 401ks. They don't have Roths. Most of them don't. However, the Roth IRA has been around long enough now. Roth 401ks has been around long enough now. I think it's going to be more common. People are going to be inheriting Roth IRA dollars. And under the rules, you've got to withdraw all those dollars that you inherit from a Roth IRA within 10 years. And it's like, bummer. I wish these dollars could continue to grow tax-free for me. Well, you can do that. Just shift the dollars out of that inherited Roth and contribute it into your own Roth IRA if you're not already doing that. And I actually laid out, I think, 3 or 4 unique strategies or different ways of thinking about it like that so that you can perpetuate this tax-free nature. Now, would it work if you inherited a traditional IRA? Absolutely. Assuming that, because when you draw dollars out of that inherited Roth, it does not land on your tax return.
Right.
So it doesn't influence your ability to fund a Roth IRA or fund an IRA. However, drawing dollars out of your of a inherited IRA would. It would add to your income.
All this presumes, though, that Joe is still working.
Yep.
Right? You have to have earned income in order to be eligible to make any of these types of retirement contributions. So don't lose sight of that. You don't want to go quickly pull money out of a Roth IRA and then realize that you're stranded and you can't get it back into a new Roth IRA. So measure twice, cut once, as the carpenters say.
But there again, receiving so many times, we believe everyone needs a comprehensive financial planning approach when they're making their financial decisions. Oftentimes, though, hopefully you're just building the right habits, and then an event happens. There's a catalyst. There's a spark, and then it's, I need to look at how this affects all 6 areas. And that's usually when you start that relationship with that CFP. And inheritance is one such event.
Absolutely.
To make sure that you're looking at the tax strategies, your retirement plan, and how this impacts all 6 areas of your financial life so you can make wise decisions. All right, great questions. That's all the time we have for today. On behalf of Josh Gregory, Kevin Korhorn, all of us at Korhorn Financial Group, have a great weekend. We'll see you next Saturday for the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group.
Securities offered through Silver Oak Securities, member FINRA/SIPC. Advisory services offered through KFG Wealth Management, LLC. Doing business as Korhorn Financial Group. KFG Wealth Management, LLC and Silver Oak Securities Incorporated companies are unaffiliated.